Houston 12-5. Okay, they have dominated their division the last 2 years, 10-2. That's not happening again. That's not happening again. Tennessee is going to be much better. Jacksonville is really good. They've also been 5-9 the last couple of years against teams that make the playoffs. I love C.J. Stroud. I think he throws the prettiest ball on some Sundays in the league. He has regressed to an 89 passer rating guy who turns the ball over way too much. They will be good as long as DeMeco Ryans is the coach. But I don't think they feel the same. I don't think offensively they've got the right rhythm. 12-5 to me becomes like, what? 9-8, 10-7, but you never feel like they're a Super Bowl team.
I respectfully dissent from that characterization. Let us contextualize this discourse regarding organizational trajectory. When a franchise secures 12 victories in a given season, the subsequent movement to 10 or 11 wins does not constitute systemic collapse. It represents normal competitive fluctuation within an ecosystem designed for parity. The more substantive claim that this organization no longer projects as a legitimate Super Bowl participant rests upon fundamentally unstable analytical footing. Conditional upon defensive health and structural integrity, this unit will maintain its classification as special, elite, and formidable. DeMeco Ryans does not merely coordinate defensive operations. He philosophically inhabits defensive conceptualization at its most sophisticated strata. Anticipating his unit's regression, absent catastrophic personnel attrition, is analogous to projecting Kyle Shanahan's offensive infrastructure to inexplicably deteriorate, or Sean McVay's schematic architecture to spontaneously unravel, or Andy Reid's system to suddenly stagnate. These outcomes do not manifest organically. They require exogenous disruption, typically in the form of significant injury concentration. Defensive infrastructure, admittedly, lacks the singular concentrative dependency characteristic of the quarterback position. Offensive functionality is frequently dichotomous, functional or non-functional, predicated upon that individual's availability and performance. Defensive performance distributes its dependencies across multiple positional clusters. However, this diffusion renders sustained excellence more, not less, achievable when foundational coaching and personnel architecture remain intact. With those elements secured, the regression hypothesis lacks evidentiary support. My projection for C.J. Stroud is not merely stabilization, but substantive, demonstrable rebounding. I anticipate a comprehensively reconstituted version of this quarterback to emerge. The coordinative situation remains somewhat opaque. I have not definitively confirmed whether organizational decisions regarding offensive leadership have crystallized. Current indications suggest retention of the existing offensive coordinator, Nick. This outcome, contrary to popular characterization, does not constitute organizational failure. Continuity possesses inherent value, particularly for a quarterback navigating professional turbulence for the first time. The offensive line situation, however, requires unambiguous remediation. This unit's performance metrics are objectively indefensible. They registered 30th in pass blocking efficiency at 56%. For comparative reference, the Los Angeles Chargers, decimated by injuries across multiple positional clusters, operating with replacement-level personnel at multiple premium positions, registered 54%. Dead last. The Texans were immediately adjacent at 56%. Their run block win rate ranked 32nd. 32nd. This is not subjective evaluation. This is empirical documentation of systemic frontline failure. This unit must be reconstituted. This is not optional. It is existential. When we discuss Stroud's performance trajectory, the regression framework misidentifies the causal mechanism. Stroud requires elevation, certainly. He must refine his game management sequencing. He must achieve greater operational fluidity within the pocket. However, the observable degradation in his processing rhythm, the accelerated internal clock, the marginally delayed recognition patterns, the fractional hesitation in delivery, these are symptomatic manifestations, not primary deficiencies. The root etiology is trust, specifically the absence thereof in his protective infrastructure. Athletes, all athletes, require confrontation with authentic professional adversity. I have articulated this thesis persistently. There exists an indispensable experiential threshold wherein the competitor absorbs significant trauma, retreats to solitude, examines the reflection in the mirror, and interrogates fundamental identity. Who am I? What am I capable of? Have I reached my terminus? This interior wrestling with self-doubt is not weakness. It is the precondition for authentic resilience. Tom Brady experienced this interior confrontation. Patrick Mahomes has navigated these psychological waters. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. The cultural mythology of unwavering self-certitude is aspirational fiction. Of course they doubted. Of course they questioned. LeBron James, at some juncture during his early Cleveland tenure, unquestionably interrogated whether championship validation would permanently elude him. This psychological wrestling reaches critical mass. It approaches something resembling foundational despair. And then, if the competitor possesses appropriate internal architecture, resolution emerges. I am persuaded we witnessed this inflection point with C.J. Stroud. He is acutely aware of the external discourse, including the marginal speculation regarding whether playoff benching was warranted. He processes this information. He is not intellectually insulated. There is nothing cognitively deficient about C.J. Stroud. His football intelligence is manifest. When he engages in schematic discourse, the sophistication level is immediately apparent. Stroud has been, in substantial measure, circumstantially victimized. His performance suppression originates externally, not internally. This is why I remain oriented toward off-season organizational behavior rather than quarterback reevaluation. The offensive line can be reconstructed. Resources can be allocated. Structural deficiencies can be remediated. Examine the Chicago Bears as an instructive comparative case. Their pass block win rate ascended to 74%, first overall in the National Football League. Their run block win rate achieved 74%, fifth overall. The differential between their previous iteration and current configuration was not marginal. It was transformational. Playoff qualification materialized immediately following extended postseason absence. What intervening variables produced this metamorphosis? Ben Johnson's installation, aggressive offensive line fortification, strategic veteran acquisition, comprehensive resource commitment. This is not mysterious, this is causal. Therefore, my analytical focus remains fixed upon Houston's forthcoming organizational decisions. The question is not whether C.J. Stroud has inexplicably lost his quarterbacking faculties. The question is whether the franchise will construct an operational environment permitting those faculties to manifest. Fortify the offensive front. Elevate the supporting infrastructure. The resultant product will be a demonstrably superior quarterback. The version of Stroud previously witnessed, the special iteration, the transformative presence, remains accessible. He requires only the opportunity to develop and improve rather than perpetually survive. When you combine elite defensive infrastructure with functional offensive environment, the Super Bowl contention classification becomes not aspirational, but self-evident. Of course you are a contender. Of course. Consequently, my attention remains monopolized by the off-season transaction cycle. What expenditure patterns emerge? What draft capital deployment strategies materialize? What veteran acquisitions are executed? What trades are consummated? This behavioral data will determine competitive trajectory more definitively than any quarterback-centric regression discourse. If organizational activity approximates status quo, if the sense of urgency is imperceptible, then the competitive calculus shifts. The Chargers are ascending. The Jaguars are consolidating. The Colts possess unresolved but not irrelevant potential. The Titans, despite recent turbulence, cannot be permanently dismissed. The AFC aggregately, and the AFC South specifically, is undergoing qualitative enrichment. The Broncos, the Chargers, the Jaguars, these are not automatic victories. The contemporary NFL features unprecedented distribution of quarterback talent, coaching sophistication, and organizational competence. There are no longer abundant scheduling concessions. This competitive density will manifest in record distribution. I would not be surprised, conditional upon scheduling geometry and injury aggregation, to observe a substantial contraction of ultra-elite win totals. 14 and 15 win campaigns may become anomalous rather than aspirational. The distributional center may shift toward 10, 11, and 12 victories. This is not prediction. This is probabilistic extrapolation from observable environmental transformation. Thus, I counsel moderated skepticism regarding Houston Texans' regression narratives. The empirical foundation for such conclusions remains structurally unsound. The organizational capacity for remediation exists. The quarterback talent is incontestable. The defensive infrastructure is secure. The remaining variable is organizational will. These reflections represent my personal assessment. I am genuinely eager to receive your alternative formulations. What is your evaluative judgment regarding CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans? Do you perceive his recent performance trajectory as indicative of irreversible regression? Or do you share my conviction that infrastructural remediation will restore his elite trajectory? I invite you to articulate your positions within the comment infrastructure. I commit to comprehensive examination of each submission. Whether your orientation aligns with or diverges from my own, I welcome substantive engagement. Let us deliberate. Let us constructively dispute. Ultimately, let us derive satisfaction from this collective exercise. I also formally request your consideration of channel subscription. We are cooperatively cultivating an exceptional community in this space, and your participatory inclusion would be authentically valued. My aspirational objective is the construction of a collective environment characterized by genuine mutual connection. A community we authentically experience enthusiasm about joining. I am persuaded we are making significant progress toward this objective. Please also consider bestowing affirmative acknowledgement upon this video content, as it materially enhances content visibility and algorithmic discoverability. I express my profound gratitude. I will convene with you in the subsequent installment.